This is Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. If you have an existing estate plan or are in the market for one, Todd Lutsky is here to answer your questions and help you plan for later life. Ask Todd is presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 35 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Visit CushingDolan.com. Now, here's Todd Lutsky.
As promised, we're now joined by the one and only Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan for Ask Todd. The segment is appropriately named because this is your chance to ask Todd your questions about your estate plan. Phone lines are wide open right now at 888-205-2263. That is the number to call to speak with Mr. Lutsky live on air. Again, 888-205-2263. Last week, I believe, actually it was 2 weeks ago, we set a record. We got through 4 calls. Usually we only get to 2 or 3 because of time limitations. So get calling early if you want to make sure we get to your call. Again, that number is 888-205-2263. One more time, 888-205-2263. Mr. Lutsky, how are you doing today?
I'm never better. How are you?
Good. I was thinking the other day about buying a coffin.
A coffin? You're not feeling well?
Well, then I realized that's actually the last thing I need.
Yeah, it probably is.
Yeah, so I decided not to. Todd, I want to talk to you about these Medicaid irrevocable trusts.
Yes.
What do they actually do? What estate planning goals do they accomplish?
So I think there's so much to learn about irrevocable trust, but to try to answer that question, sort of point on point, would be, they avoid probate, so lots of trusts do that, and I want people to know revocable and irrevocable do that. By putting assets in it, you're not going to have to go to probate. Secondly, they are designed, many people don't think this, but they're designed also to shelter for estate tax purposes on the first death if you're married. Remember, revocable trust, that's really the big deal for a revocable trust. They say, we're going to help you shelter estate taxes, so on the first death there's none due, and on the second death there'll be less due or none due, depending on the size of your estate and how much we can shelter on the first death. Irrevocable Medicaid trusts do that as well. They have the same kind of language there when one spouse dies with that remainder share and marital share language. So thirdly, they both will provide a bloodline plan, to your family. And I think, the family behind the estate plan is always really more important sometimes than the cold IRS and probate analysis or parts of the equation. So they both can, sort of direct how these assets get to your family, when they get there, why they get there, are they protected from divorces, etc. And finally, the difference. The irrevocable will provide protection from the cost of long-term care, nursing home. Again, takes 5 years, but get it in there. The revocable trust never will. So all of you folks listening, don't, and I've seen it happen. They come in, Chuck, and they say, I've had my trust in place for 5 years and Mom's going in the nursing home, but we're all set because I know all about that 5-year rule. And then they show me the trust and it's revocable. I got to tell you, folks, the revocable trust will never start the clock running. So people go into the lawyers all the time. They think they want to get nursing home planning done, and they end up leaving with a revocable trust. It's not doing it.
Talking with Todd Lutsky from Cushing & Dolan. Still room on the phone lines at 888-205-2263. That is the number to call to ask Todd your estate planning questions. 888-205-2263. Todd, when you talk about an irrevocable trust, people hear that word irrevocable and immediately they kind of they
cringe.
They clam up.
Yeah.
What kind of control does someone have to give up in order to use one of these irrevocable trusts in their estate plan?
So I'm going to say, and again, in the interest of time and radio, it would take a lot longer to explain the whole trust, but I just want people to at least conceptually understand that if I had to quantify it for people, I think you keep probably 95 to 98% control, and sometimes that's the easiest way to help people at least get off that dime and say, oh, well, if I'm going to keep that kind of control over the assets in the trust, maybe it's worth exploring this irrevocable trust further to learn exactly how they work, and get into the details of how they work. So I'm going to tell you, you really do keep a lot of control over this kind of irrevocable trust. But remember, there are other irrevocable trusts out there that you might have had that idea of sort of cringing and saying, I lose control, because there are some that are designed for you to give up a lot of control, but not this one.
Talking with Todd Lutsky. Again, if you've got questions to ask Todd about your estate plan, room on the phone lines at 888-205-2263. We're going to take a quick break here, but when we come back, right to your questions with Todd. That phone number is 888-205-2263. One last time, 888-205-2263.
Text us at 617-362-1385 with your comments and questions about today's show, and let us know what you think about the stories we are covering. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Miss any of the show? Catch up at your convenience by visiting financialexchangeshow.com and clicking the on-demand icon, where you'll find all of our interviews and full shows. This is your home for the latest business and financial news in New England and around the country. This is the Financial Exchange Radio Network.
Talking with Todd Lutsky from the law firm of Cushing & Dolan. Again, if you've got a question for Todd, 888-205-2263 is the number. That number one more time is 888-205-2263. Let's go to Lisa in Worcester. Lisa, what is your question for Todd Lutsky?
Hi, Todd. Two-part question.
Okay.
One is, if my income from Social Security and pension is so high that I'm never going to qualify for Medicaid, is the irrevocable trust to save my house worthwhile? And secondly, I've had a couple lawyers in Massachusetts tell me that the irrevocable trust to save my house from the nursing home has been getting challenged by the state of Massachusetts. So they have refused to make me one because they're not trial lawyers.
Wow.
They're not litigators.
Wow.
Yeah.
So two very wow questions there. So first and foremost, let's take the second one first, the litigation one, and then I'll take the income one. So hang on, okay. I might have a follow-up for you. So first of all, folks, do these trusts get challenged? So I've been at it about 30 years, and the first 15, 20 years for sure, they've been like all over them. Now, in all fairness, doesn't matter that they're all over them. Knock on wood, every one of our trusts have succeeded and have been drafted properly. And as long as they're drafted properly, they win. And they protect assets from the nursing home. It's not a win. It's they're following the rules that are put out by the state and the federal government, and they're designed to protect the asset from the nursing home. So whether they're needing to be challenged at a fair hearing, not so much go into court so much, but fair hearings, yeah, it's happened. I've been to a lot of them, and again, it works. So there were, even back then, there would have been no reason not to do this. Because remember, if you don't do it, you lose for sure. So that's sort of the way I look at it. And the other reason is now, and I think it was 2021, I want to say, maybe a little earlier, there was a Supreme Court case here in Massachusetts where they finally took one of these trusts all the way to the SJC. And the SJC confirmed what we always knew, that these trusts, when drafted properly, do work. And the SJC was somewhat adamant about it when their decision to say to Mass Health, we don't want to see you back here. Stop coming back with the same argument over and over again, because it doesn't work. And so that was extremely helpful. And I would say since then, 2020-ish, I've been to 0 fair hearings. So I'm going to say that issue is probably very inaccurate for him. And so anyone who wants these should not do them just because someone tells you they need to be litigated. Finally, income. Question to you. What is your monthly income between, you said, Social Security and pension, I guess?
Yes,
What-
it's over 5,000.
Okay, so that's why I wanted to ask you, because over 5,000 is nowhere near enough to cover the cost of a nursing home. Nursing homes, on average, in Massachusetts, certainly inside of 495, probably $15,000 to $16,000 a month, and you have $5,000 a month, so you are way short of the ability to private pay a nursing home. So please do your planning. Don't not do it. It works. Litigation is not an issue, or has been way less of an issue, really not an issue anyway, and you're way under for income. But I can also tell you the benefit of having such a large income. By the way, that is a great retirement income. Don't feel that it's not. It is. But more importantly, when you get on Medicaid, there's a Medicaid rate and a private pay rate. So the private pay rate is about $16,000 a month. But the Medicaid rate is about $6,500 a month, give or take, maybe a little more. Wow. So even if you went on Medicaid and you had to pay and Medicaid would only be paying the difference between $5,000 and $6,500. Home run. So even if there was never any planning done, the lien, like on a house or something, would be smaller. This is for other people who maybe haven't done planning and are faced with last minute nursing home care. But to you, rather than worry about any liens, I do the planning. Litigation notwithstanding, income not an issue. Hopefully that was helpful. Folks, that said, the actual kind of planning I would propose would be an irrevocable Medicaid trust. That's exactly what the guide is. New guide for the month of June. Unlocking the power of irrevocable Medicaid trust. What it does in a question and answer format is explain how they work. I mean, can I live there? Can I sell my house? Can I buy another house? Is there a gift tax when I transfer my assets in? Is there an income tax problem if I put rental property in? Can I continue to collect my income off the rent? I mean, every question you can think of, or we thought of anyway, we've put in the guide. And if you've never done one, like perhaps the caller didn't do one, and you've been afraid of them, I think after you read this guide, you will know, A, whether you love them, or B, whether you hate them and will never do them. So call and get the guide, 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com. Again, 866-848-5699 or legalexchangeshow.com.
Todd, when we talk about these irrevocable trusts, let's say that someone is through that 5-year look-back period.
Okay.
And they unfortunately have a long-term care situation that is hitting them at that point.
Okay.
How do they actually use that trust then to go about qualifying for Medicaid? Like, what actually happens then?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I mean, because people always say, well, it sounds like it's still my asset, right? But it's in a trust. So here's how it happens. First and foremost, now you've done your planning and you're crossing that threshold of going into the nursing home. So now you should go back to the lawyer that probably did the estate plan for you and apply for Medicaid. So that's a whole nother process called the Medicaid application process. But during that Medicaid application process is where they start using these documents, right? They're going to ask you for everything you could imagine financially, 3 years of tax returns. They're going to ask you for 5 years worth of bank statements and IRA statements and brokerage account statements. And they're going to want your Social Security card and Medicare card and, birth certificate. They don't believe you're a citizen unless you show them. So this is the process that really drills down to find out what you own. And yes, they will ask you, are you a beneficiary of a trust? Are you a trustee of a trust of any kind? Yes. If yes, submit the document, but you don't have to list the assets in it as countable. You can show them that you have it. You can show them that it's beyond 5 years, You can show them that you're probably going to be getting the income from the trust, and they're allowed to look into the trust and see what's in it, see how it works. But at the end of the day, again, coupled with this, and this goes back to the caller, coupled with this SJC ruling that we had back in 2021-ish, the assets in the trust will not be countable. But you got to show it. So folks, it does work. You just have to set it up, get the assets in, and then when you go to that application process, it will be protected.
Mr. Lutsky, I appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you.
This has been Ask Todd on the Financial Exchange Radio Network. Ask Todd with Todd Lutsky has been presented by Cushing & Dolan, serving Massachusetts and New England for more than 30 years, helping families with estate and tax planning, Medicaid planning, and probate law. Call 800-393-4001 or visit CushingDolan.com. The views expressed in this segment are solely those of Cushing & Dolan. Armstrong Advisory does not provide any legal or tax advice. Please consult with your legal or tax advisor on such matters. Cushing & Armstrong do not endorse each other and are not affiliated.